Jim Evans, a seasoned aerospace engineer with a military background, stood at the forefront of Earth's United Defense Council. The room buzzed with tension as world leaders gathered, their faces a mix of fear and determination. The emergency broadcast from the Galactic Council flickered to life, projecting the image of Envoy Zorak. His alien visage was stern and unyielding, delivering a message that sent chills through the room. Earth must surrender unconditionally within 72 hours or face annihilation. People of Earth, Zorak's voice resonated with cold authority. Your resistance is futile. Surrender now or be obliterated. The room erupted in murmurs of disbelief and fear. Jim's mind raced, recalling his father's sacrifice in an earlier conflict with the Galactic Council. He clenched his fists, his resolve hardening. This was not just a battle for survival. It was a fight for humanity's future. Silence! General Marcus Lee commanded, his voice cutting through the noise. We need solutions, not panic. Jim stepped forward, his voice steady. We have a plan. Dr. Evelyn Carter and I have been working on something that might just give us a fighting chance. Evelyn, a brilliant scientist and Jim's closest confidant, nodded. We've reverse-engineered some of the alien technology we've recovered. It's risky, but it could work. General Lee raised an eyebrow. Explain. Jim took a deep breath. We've developed a missile system using their technology. If we can launch a surprise attack on their fleet, we might be able to disable their primary weapon systems. Skepticism etched across General Lee's face. And if it fails? Jim's gaze was unwavering. Then we're no worse off than we are now. But if it works, it buys us time and a potential victory. The room fell silent as the weight of Jim's words settled in. After a tense pause, General Lee nodded. All right, we proceed with your plan. But understand, Evans, the fate of our planet rests on this. The council members dispersed, leaving Jim and Evelyn to finalize the preparations. They headed to the lab, a high-tech fortress filled with advanced equipment and the fruits of their painstaking research. As they worked, Jim couldn't shake the memory of his father. He'd been a hero, a symbol of Earth's resistance. Now it was Jim's turn to carry that legacy. Evelyn's focused demeanor and quick intellect were a comforting presence, reminding him that he wasn't alone in this fight. Jim, look at this, Evelyn called, her eyes fixed on a holographic screen. There's something embedded in the alien tech, a message. It seems like there's a faction within the council that doesn't support this war. Jim frowned. How can we trust this information? We can't, Evelyn admitted. But it's a glimmer of hope. Maybe there are allies out there. Jim nodded, absorbing the implications. We'll have to tread carefully. This could be a trap. They worked through the night, refining the missile system, double-checking every calculation and component. The pressure was immense, but so was their determination. As dawn approached, Jim felt a sense of cautious optimism. They were as ready as they'd ever be. In the command center, General Lee was coordinating the broader defense strategy. Jim and Evelyn presented their final plan, detailing the missile launch sequence and potential outcomes. The tension in the room was thick, but there was also a sense of unity and purpose. Remember, General Lee said, addressing the assembled leaders and military personnel, this is our last stand. We fight not just for our lives, but for the future of our species. As the countdown to the deadline began, Earth's defenses were on high alert. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and fear. Families said their goodbyes, soldiers prepared for battle, and Jim stood at the helm, ready to execute the plan that could save them all. The council's message had been clear: surrender or die. But Jim and his team were determined to add a third option to that ultimatum. As the final minutes ticked away, Jim gave the order to launch the missiles. The command center screens lit up with the trajectories, each missile a beacon of Earth's defiance. Jim Evans stood in the command center, eyes glued to the tactical display. The countdown to the Galactic Council's deadline ticked down relentlessly. He turned to Dr. Evelyn Carter, whose eyes mirrored his concern. They had precious little time to prepare Earth's defenses. Evelyn, any updates on the missile system? Jim asked, his voice steady despite the urgency. Evelyn nodded, her fingers dancing over the console. We've made significant progress. The integration of the alien technology is complete, but we still need to test the targeting systems. Jim's mind raced. They couldn't afford any errors. What about the defense grid? General Marcus Lee entered, his expression stern. Our ground forces are ready, and the defense grid is operational. But we need more time to coordinate with our allies. Jim glanced at the display again, then back at Evelyn. We don't have time. We need to push forward with what we have. The room buzzed with activity as teams worked tirelessly to prepare for the impending assault. Engineers fine-tuned the missile systems, while soldiers reviewed strategic positions. The weight of the world's survival pressed on everyone's shoulders. Jim took a deep breath, focusing on the task at hand. He joined Evelyn at the control station. Let's run a final diagnostic. Evelyn initiated the sequence, her face illuminated by the screen's glow. Systems are stable. We just need to ensure the targeting algorithms are precise. As they worked, Jim couldn't help but recall the hidden message they had discovered in the alien technology. A faction within the Galactic Council opposed the war. It was a slim hope, but it could be the key to their survival. Jim, Evelyn said softly, breaking his reverie, do you think we can trust the message we found? Jim frowned, considering her question. We have to be cautious. Could be a trap. But if there's a chance we have allies within the council, we need to find a way to reach them. Before they could delve deeper, a sudden alarm blared through the command center. General Lee's voice echoed over the intercom. Incoming scouting party from the Galactic Council. All units, prepare for engagement. Jim's heart pounded. This was it. Evelyn, stay here and monitor the systems. I'll join the defense team. As Jim sprinted to the armory, he passed soldiers suiting up for battle. The air was thick with anticipation and resolve. He quickly donned his combat gear and joined General Lee at the front lines. They're testing our defenses, General Lee said, his gaze fixed on the approaching ships. We need to hold them off. Jim nodded, gripping his rifle. We're ready. The first wave of enemy ships descended, and Earth's defense forces sprang into action. Laser cannons fired, lighting up the sky as the alien vessels weaved through the barrage. Jim took aim and fired, his training and experience guiding his movements. The battle raged on, and despite their preparations, the alien technology proved formidable. Jim watched as a squadron of enemy fighters broke through the defense grid, heading straight for the command center. General, they're targeting the command center, Jim shouted. General Lee reacted quickly. Redirect all units to intercept those fighters. Protect the command center at all costs. Jim led a team to the command center, engaging the enemy fighters with precision. The sky lit up with explosions as the battle intensified. Amid the chaos, Jim spotted an opportunity. He directed his team to flank the enemy, creating a diversion. Now, hit them with everything we've got, Jim commanded. The coordinated strike succeeded, and the enemy fighters were neutralized. The immediate threat was over, but the battle had taken its toll. Jim surveyed the battlefield, his mind already racing to the next steps. Back in the command center, Evelyn was waiting, her expression a mix of relief and determination. We did it, Jim. The missile system is ready. Jim nodded, exhaustion and adrenaline coursing through him. Good. Let's get back to work. We need to be ready for the main assault. As they resumed their preparations, Jim couldn't shake the feeling that the hidden message in the alien technology held a crucial piece of the puzzle. He turned to Evelyn. We need to find a way to contact that faction within the council. Could change everything. Evelyn agreed, her eyes sharp with focus. I'll start working on a secure communication link. If they're willing to help, we need to act fast. Jim Evans stared at the monitor, the encrypted message from the Galactic Council's faction playing out before him. The revelation was a mixture of relief and suspicion. Could they trust this potential ally, or was it an elaborate ruse? Jim, I've established a secure link, Evelyn announced, breaking the silence. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed a flicker of uncertainty. Jim nodded, pushing aside his doubts. Let's hear them out. The screen shifted, revealing the face of an alien whose demeanor was markedly different from the aggressive envoys they had encountered before. I am Null, a member of the Council who believes this war is unjust. We wish to assist you in ending it. Why should we trust you? Jim asked, his voice hard. How do we know this isn't a trap? Null's gaze was earnest. I understand your hesitation, but we have our reasons. The war has cost us dearly as well. I can provide coordinates to a weak point in our fleet's formation. Use it to your advantage. Evelyn leaned in, scrutinizing the transmission. If you're deceiving us, it could mean the end of everything we've fought for. I swear on my honor, this is no deception, Null replied. We want peace just as much as you do. Jim exchanged a glance with Evelyn. They both knew the risk, but what choice did they have? We'll consider your offer, Jim said, ending the transmission. General Lee entered the room, his expression skeptical. What do you make of it? It's a gamble, Jim admitted, but it might be the only one we've got. We'll need to verify those coordinates. Evelyn nodded. I'll run a simulation to see if they check out. It'll take some time, but it's worth it. As Evelyn worked on the simulation, Jim gathered his thoughts. The situation was growing more complex by the minute. He had to ensure that their plans remained secure. Walking through the bustling corridors of the base, he was stopped by one of his engineers. Sir, we've detected a breach in our security protocols, the engineer reported. It seems someone tried to access classified information. Jim's eyes narrowed. Find out who it was and report back to me immediately. Returning to the command center, Jim found Evelyn deep in concentration. Any luck? The coordinates seem legitimate, she said, her tone cautious. But we need to be absolutely sure. Just then, the engineer returned, his face pale. Sir, it was one of our own, Senator Whitfield. He's been in contact with the council. Betrayal. The word burned in Jim's mind. Bring him in. Now. Within minutes, Senator Whitfield was escorted into the room, his face a mask of defiance. What is this about, Evans? You've been feeding information to the enemy, Jim said coldly. Why? Whitfield sneered. You're all fools. Surrender is the only option. We can't win this war. Jim stepped forward, his anger barely contained. You jeopardized everything. You put us all at risk. Whitfield's eyes flashed with contempt. You're too blind to see the truth. This resistance is futile. Evelyn placed a hand on Jim's arm, her touch grounding him. We need to focus. What do we do with him? Jim took a deep breath, his mind racing. He'll be detained. We can't allow any more breaches. General Lee, make sure security is tightened. As Whitfield was led away, Jim turned to Evelyn. Let's get back to work. We have a battle to win. The hours passed in a blur of preparations. Jim and Evelyn finalized the missile targeting, coordinating with the defense teams to ensure every detail was accounted for. The knowledge of Whitfield's betrayal lingered, but they pushed forward with renewed determination. Jim, Evelyn called out, pulling him from his thoughts. The simulation confirms the coordinates. Null's information checks out. A surge of hope coursed through Jim. Good. We'll use it. Inform General Lee and prepare the strike team. The command center was a flurry of activity as final plans were put into place. Jim addressed the assembled leaders and soldiers, his voice carrying the weight of their shared resolve. We've faced betrayal and deception, but we're still standing. This is our chance to turn the tide. Let's make it count. Jim Evans stood at the command center's main console, eyes fixed on the tactical display. The coordinated strike, using the information from Null, had been successful in creating a breach in the Galactic Council's fleet. But now the real battle began. General Lee, Jim called out. How are the defenses holding? Lee's expression was grim. We're holding them back for now, but their reinforcements are overwhelming. We need to capitalize on the breach before it's too late. Jim nodded, turning to Dr. Evelyn Carter. Evelyn, we need every bit of intel you can get from our new ally. We need to exploit that breach to its fullest. Evelyn's fingers danced over her console as she worked to maintain the secure line with Null. I'm on it, Jim. Null is feeding us real-time updates on their fleet movements. As Jim coordinated the assault, he couldn't shake the sense of urgency. The next few hours would decide the fate of Earth. He moved through the room, issuing orders, bolstering morale, and ensuring every team knew their role. Jim, Evelyn called, pulling him from his thoughts. Null says there's a crucial command ship within the breach. If we can take it out, it will disrupt their entire formation. General, Jim said, turning to Lee, focus our efforts on that command ship. If we can neutralize it, we might stand a chance. Lee relayed the orders, and the room buzzed with activity as the strike teams mobilized. Jim watched the screen, his heart pounding as the battle unfolded. Earth's forces advanced through the breach, targeting the command ship with relentless precision. Evelyn, can we boost our communication jamming? Jim asked, his eyes never leaving the display. I'm working on it, Evelyn replied. It'll take a few minutes, but I can increase the range and disrupt their coordination further. As the strike teams closed in on the command ship, Jim saw an opportunity. General, dispatch a special ops team to board the ship. If we can seize control, it'll be a game changer. Lee nodded. Consider it done. The special ops team, led by Captain Harris, prepared for their mission. Jim watched their progress, knowing that this daring move could turn the tide of the battle. The team's ship launched, weaving through the chaos to reach the command vessel. Jim, Evelyn said urgently, I'm detecting an energy surge from the enemy fleet. They're preparing a counterattack. Jim's mind raced. We need to buy more time for Harris and his team. Redirect our firepower to cover their approach. The room filled with the sounds of orders being issued and commands being executed. Jim felt the weight of every decision, knowing the lives of his people depended on his leadership. As the special ops team breached the command ship, the main screen displayed their progress. Captain Harris and his team fought their way through the corridors, neutralizing resistance and making their way to the control center. General, give them all the support we can muster, Jim ordered. They need to reach that control center. Minutes felt like hours as Jim and Evelyn monitored the mission. Finally, Harris's voice crackled over the comms. We're in. Initiating override now. The command ship systems flickered, and Jim felt a surge of hope. Harris, what's your status? Control is ours, Harris replied. We've disrupted their communications and disabled their main weapons. A cheer erupted in the command center, but Jim knew the battle wasn't over yet. General Lee pressed the advantage. Take out as many of their ships as you can while they're disoriented. The ensuing assault was fierce. Earth's forces, bolstered by the success of the Special Ops team, pushed forward with renewed vigor. The enemy fleet faltered, their coordination shattered by the loss of their command ship. Evelyn, what's the status on their reinforcements? Jim asked, eyes scanning the tactical display. They're retreating, Evelyn reported. Our strike on the command ship has thrown their entire formation into disarray. Jim felt a wave of relief. We need to keep the pressure on. Don't let them regroup. The battle raged on, but it was clear that Earth's forces had gained the upper hand. The Galactic Council's ships began to withdraw, unable to withstand the coordinated assault. Jim watched as the last of the enemy vessels retreated, the skies finally clearing. We did it, Evelyn said, her voice filled with exhaustion and triumph. Jim nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. We did, but we need to stay vigilant. This victory won't be the end. As the command center quieted down, Jim took a moment to reflect on their journey. They had faced overwhelming odds, betrayal, and the threat of annihilation, but they had emerged victorious. The cost had been high, but their resilience and unity had seen them through. Jim turned to Evelyn. Get a message to Null. Thank him for his assistance. We couldn't have done this without him. Evelyn nodded, her eyes meeting Jim's. And what now?